The crimson wasteland of Kepler 442b stretched infinitely beneath twin amber suns, their relentless heat beating down on Captain Marcus Chun as he navigated the treacherous dunes. After 5 rotations on this desolate world, he had grown accustomed to the planet's harsh embrace, though his enhanced combat suit still worked overtime to regulate his core temperature. "Reconnaissance Team Alpha to Base Command," Marcus spoke into his helmet com. Still no visual on the Zephyrian delegation at the specified rendezvous coordinates. Only endless sand and rock formations. His specialized training with Earth's interstellar defense corps had prepared him for countless alien encounters. Yet something about this particular world sent warning signals through his nervous system. Perhaps it was the massive orbital platform that dominated the sky like a mechanical moon, casting ominous shadows across the landscape, a constant reminder that humanity remained the minority species here. Static crackled through his comm system. "Captain Chun, maintain your search pattern. High Command emphasizes that diplomatic relations with the indigenous population remains our primary objective. Their environmental knowledge is essential for establishing our permanent outpost." Marcus exhaled slowly. "Understood, Command." Cresting another towering dune, the terrain transformed dramatically before his eyes. A crystalline oasis materialized from the heat waves, surrounded by bizarre flora that pulsed with internal bioluminescence. At the water's edge stood a group of beings unlike anything in Earth's xenobiology databases. The Zephyrians possessed a distinctly humanoid silhouette, yet their skin displayed magnificent gradients of purple and azure, decorated with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and dance with their movements. The warrior caste among them stood tall and imposing, their cobalt-tinted flesh protected by advanced armor that hummed with contained energy. Their weapons emanated a soft blue glow that spoke of sophisticated technology. However, one individual captured Marcus's complete attention. Unlike her warrior companions, this female displayed softer lavender pigmentation, her elegant form accentuated by a fitted environmental suit that highlighted her alien beauty. Platinum hair flowed past her shoulders in stark contrast to her violet complexion, while her large, almond-shaped eyes gleamed like molten copper. Marcus approached with deliberate caution, raising both hands in the universal gesture of peaceful intent. "I am Captain Marcus Chun, representing Earth's Colonial Expeditionary Force." The female stepped forward with fluid grace. "I am Lyrian, Cultural Ambassador of the Zephyrian Supreme Assembly. We extend greetings to—" Her words transformed into a piercing shriek of agony as her beautiful features contorted in pain. Marcus's military reflexes activated instantly, scanning for potential threats. There, retreating into the crystalline vegetation, a serpentine creature with mirror-like scales and what appeared to be hollow feeding tubes instead of traditional fangs. "Toxin serpent," one of the Azure warriors shouted, though none moved to assist. Instead, they retreated further, their expressions becoming masks of resignation. "Ambassador Lyrian has been struck down by the creature's poison. There is no salvation from its bite." Lyrian collapsed to her knees, clutching her upper leg where an angry crimson mark was rapidly spreading. The flesh surrounding the wound began turning an alarming shade of grey, with dark veins radiating outward at a terrifying pace. "What are you waiting for?" Marcus demanded of the warriors. "She needs immediate medical attention." The tallest warrior slowly shook his head. "The toxin serpent's venom brings only death. No remedy exists. She has already begun her final journey." "Not while I'm here," Marcus growled, dropping beside her without hesitation. He quickly tore away the damaged portion of her suit to expose the wound. The bite mark glowed with a sickly green luminescence, already beginning to fester. Marcus recalled his survival protocols from advanced military training. Without proper medical equipment, only one primitive but potentially effective option remained. He positioned his mouth over the wound, pressing his lips against her alien skin, and began drawing out the poison, spitting the bitter fluid onto the sand beside them. The Zephyrian warriors observed in stunned silence, their energy weapons lowering in their amazement. The extracted poison burned Marcus's mouth and throat, leaving a metallic taste that made him want to retch, but he persisted until he tasted blood instead of toxin. Finally sitting back, Marcus wiped his mouth with his sleeve. Lyrian's copper eyes were wide with disbelief as she stared at him. "Why?" she whispered, her voice weak but steady. "Why would you endanger yourself for someone you have never met? Someone not even of your own species?" Marcus shrugged, offering her a reassuring smile. "Where I come from, we don't abandon people in need, regardless of their origin." He helped her stand, supporting her weight against his side. The warriors approached tentatively, their earlier dismissal replaced with something resembling respect. "The toxin serpent's bite has claimed countless lives," stated the lead warrior, studying Marcus with newfound interest. "No Zephyrian would have attempted what you did. Perhaps there is more to humanity than our initial assessment suggested." "I'm Marcus," he said, extending his free hand. "And you are?" "Commander Voss," the warrior replied, clasping Marcus's forearm in a firm grip. "Perhaps we should relocate our diplomatic discussions to our medical facility where our healers can properly treat Ambassador Lyrian." As they traversed the desert together, Marcus noticed how Lyrian leaned into him, her body radiating warmth against his side. Her copper eyes kept meeting his, filled with curiosity, and something else he couldn't quite identify. "You know," he said quietly, "this wasn't exactly how I envisioned our first diplomatic contact proceeding." A smile curved her lips. "I have learned that sometimes, Captain Chen, the most significant connections begin in the most unexpected circumstances." Looking up at the massive orbital platform hovering above them, Marcus had the distinct impression that this was merely the beginning of something far more complex than a simple rescue in the wasteland. Chapter 2. Sanctuary. The Zephyrian medical complex emerged from the desert like a technological marvel. A cluster of gleaming towers that seemed to defy gravitational laws, connected by transparent skyways that shimmered in the harsh sunlight. As they approached, Marcus observed how the structures appeared to pulse with the same internal luminescence as the vegetation he'd seen earlier. "Remarkable architecture," he murmured, still supporting Lyrian against his side. Her condition had stabilized, but she remained weak, her normally vibrant skin still pale from the ordeal. "Our construction techniques harmonize with the local environment," she explained softly near his ear. "The buildings absorb solar radiation during daylight hours and release it during the cold period, maintaining optimal temperature while providing illumination." Commander Voss led them through an entrance that expanded at their approach. Inside, the temperature dropped immediately to a comfortable level, and Marcus felt his tense muscles begin to relax. "Our healing center is located down this corridor," Voss explained, gesturing along a passageway that appeared to be constructed from the same translucent material as the skyways. "Our chief medical officer, Healer Zara, will attend to Ambassador Lyrian." Upon entering the medical facility, a Zephyrian male with pale blue skin and intricate silver markings looked up from a holographic display. His eyes widened at the sight of Lyrian. "Toxin serpent bite?" he asked immediately, helping her onto an examination platform. "Confirmed," Voss replied. "The human extracted much of the poison." Healer Zara turned to Marcus, his expression unreadable. "You placed your mouth directly on the wound." "Standard survival technique from my world," Marcus explained, suddenly feeling self-conscious under the alien scrutiny. Not exactly advanced technology, but effective in emergency situations. Fascinating, Zara murmured, running a handheld scanner over Lyrian's leg. By all calculations, she should have perished. The toxin concentration in her bloodstream remains elevated, but below lethal thresholds. He looked at Marcus with newfound respect. Your primitive method preserved her life. Will she make a complete recovery? Marcus asked, surprised by how deeply he cared about the answer. Yes, though she requires rest and treatment. Zara turned to a storage unit and retrieved a vial of shimmering liquid. This will neutralize the remaining poison. As Zara administered the treatment, Voss motioned for Marcus to follow him. Come. While Ambassador Lyrian recuperates, we should discuss the purpose of your mission. The Supreme Assembly is eager to establish formal relations with your species. Marcus followed Voss to what appeared to be a command center, where several Zephyrian warriors monitored various displays. They all turned to observe as Marcus entered, their expressions ranging from curiosity to outright suspicion. This is Captain Marcus Chun of Earth, Voss announced. He has proven himself a worthy ally today. One of the warriors, slightly shorter than Voss but with broader shoulders, stepped forward. So this is what humans look like up close. Smaller than I expected. Lieutenant Kane, Voss said by way of introduction. My second in command. Marcus extended his hand, remembering too late that the gesture might not translate across species. To his surprise, Kane clasped his forearm in the same manner Voss had earlier. Any ally of Voss is welcome here, Kane said, though his tone suggested he was reserving judgment. I appreciate the reception, Marcus replied. I'm here to discuss the joint settlement project. My superiors are eager to begin construction, but we need your expertise to survive in this environment. Voss nodded. The desert is merciless to those who don't understand its patterns. We've existed here for generations, adapting to its cycles. Your people would benefit from learning our methods. For the next hour, they discussed the practicalities of the joint settlement. Water reclamation, thermal shielding, and defense against local wildlife. Marcus was impressed by the Zephyrians' knowledge and their willingness to share it. Your technology is impressive, he commented, examining a three-dimensional model of the proposed settlement, especially these water extraction systems. And your propulsion technology is equally remarkable, Voss replied. The speed at which your vessels traverse the void between stars has intrigued our scientists. As they conversed, Marcus noticed how the initial tension in the room had gradually dissolved. His act of saving Lyrian seemed to have opened doors that might otherwise have remained sealed. Their discussion was interrupted when the medical bay doors slid open and Lyrian entered, her stride steady but cautious. She had changed into a fresh suit, this one a deep indigo that complemented her lavender skin. Her platinum hair was now braided intricately down her back. You should be resting, Zara protested, following behind her. I've rested sufficiently, she replied, her copper eyes finding Marcus. Besides, I wanted to properly thank my rescuer. Marcus felt warmth creep up his neck. Anyone would have done the same. No, she said, moving closer. They wouldn't. As you witnessed, even my own people were prepared to let me die. There was no bitterness in her voice, just a statement of fact. The toxin serpent's venom is too potent, Voss explained to Marcus. Our biology offers no defense against it. We've lost many to its bite, which makes what you did all the more remarkable. You risked your life for someone you had just met, Lyrian continued, now standing directly before Marcus. Someone not even of your species. Before Marcus could respond, an alarm blared throughout the complex. The displays in the command center flashed red, and the Zephyrian warriors immediately snapped to attention. Perimeter breach, Kane announced, his fingers dancing across a control panel. Sector 9. Show me, Voss commanded. A holographic image appeared in the center of the room, showing a section of the desert near the complex. A cloud of dust was rising on the horizon, and within it, dark shapes moved with alarming speed. Sand raiders? Voss growled. They must have detected your arrival, human. Raiders? Marcus asked, his hand instinctively moving to the weapon at his hip. Nomadic predators, Lyrian explained, her expression grim. They attack settlements, steal resources, and take prisoners. They're particularly interested in new species for their collection. Collection? Marcus didn't like the sound of that. They're trophy hunters, Kane said bluntly. And you, human, would make a unique addition. Voss was already issuing orders, his warriors moving with practiced efficiency. Secure the complex. Activate the defense barriers. Kane, prepare a combat team. I can help, Marcus offered, drawing his weapon. I'm not just a diplomat. Voss studied him for a moment, then nodded. Very well. You'll join Kane's team, but be warned these raiders are not to be underestimated. As Marcus checked his weapon, Lyrian approached him again. Be careful, she said softly. You've already saved my life once today. I'd hate to see you lose yours. He gave her a confident smile. Don't worry. Where I come from, we have a saying. First time lucky. Second time skilled. What does that mean? She asked, her head tilting in confusion. It means, he said, holstering his weapon, that saving you wasn't luck, and neither will be dealing with these raiders. As he followed Kane and the defense team toward the perimeter, Marcus couldn't help but feel a surge of adrenaline. This wasn't how he'd expected his diplomatic mission to proceed. But if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was adapting to unexpected situations. And if these sand raiders wanted to add a human to their collection, they were about to get a very unpleasant surprise. Chapter 3. A battle in the wasteland. The sand raiders attacked with a ferocity that surprised even the battle-hardened Zephyrians. Marcus crouched behind a defensive barrier at the complex's perimeter, his plasma rifle braced against his shoulder as he surveyed the approaching threat. Those aren't primitive nomads, he muttered to Kane, who was positioned beside him. Look at their weapons. The raiders rode massive six-legged creatures, their bodies protected by armor that seemed to shimmer and adapt to the desert's colors. But it was their weapons that caught Marcus's attention. Sleek, pulsing rifles that fired concentrated energy bolts with devastating precision. You're correct, Kane replied, his eyes narrowing. That's military-grade technology, far beyond typical raider capabilities. A bolt of energy struck nearby, sending fragments of the barrier flying. Marcus ducked, then rose to return fire. His first shot caught a raider square in the chest, sending the alien tumbling from its mount. The second and third shots followed in rapid succession, each finding their mark with deadly accuracy. Kane stared at him, his features twitching in what Marcus was beginning to recognize as surprise. Your marksmanship is exceptional. Special operations training, Marcus replied, already lining up his next shot. We humans take our combat skills seriously. As the battle intensified, Marcus found himself falling into a familiar rhythm, the controlled breathing, the calculated movements, the split-second decisions that meant the difference between life and death. It was a dance he knew well, and one he performed with lethal grace. The Zephyrian warriors fought bravely, but they were clearly unaccustomed to this level of technology from the raiders. Marcus watched as one after another fell back, wounded or overwhelmed. We need to change tactics, he shouted to Kane over the din of battle. They're picking us off from a distance. We need to get closer, make it personal. Kane looked skeptical. Their mounts give them too much advantage in the open. Marcus grinned, a fierce expression that seemed to unnerve the Zephyrian lieutenant. Then let's take away that advantage. Without waiting for a response, Marcus vaulted over the barrier and sprinted toward the nearest dune, using the terrain for cover. He heard Kane curse behind him, then the sound of the lieutenant following. Moving from cover to cover, Marcus worked his way closer to the raider's flank. When he was within range, he pulled a small device from his beltasonic disruptor, standard issue for Earth Special Operations. Cover your ears, he warned Kane, then activated the device. The effect was immediate and devastating. The raiders' mounts reared in panic, throwing their riders and charging in all directions. In the chaos that followed, Marcus and Kane struck, taking down disoriented raiders with precision shots. The tide of battle turned quickly after that. With their mounts scattered and their formation broken, the raiders fell back, retreating into the desert. But not before Marcus managed to capture a smaller alien with mottled green skin and 4 arms, each ending in clawed digits. "Release me," the raider hissed in a surprisingly understandable dialect. "You have no authority." "You attacked us," Marcus replied coldly, securing the alien's wrists with restraints. "That gives us every authority." Back at the complex, the mood was a mixture of relief and tension. They had repelled the attack, but at a cost. Several Zephyrian warriors were wounded, and part of the complex's outer wall had been breached. Lyrian rushed to Marcus as he entered, her copper eyes wide with concern. "You're injured," she said, reaching for a gash on his forearm that he hadn't even noticed. "In the heat of battle." "It's nothing," he assured her, though he didn't pull away from her touch. Her fingers were cool against his skin, sending an unexpected shiver up his spine. "Your combat skills are remarkable," she said, her voice low as she applied a healing salve to his wound. "I've never seen anyone move like that." Marcus felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the desert heat. "Just doing my job." Voss approached, his expression grave. "The prisoner is secured." But this was no ordinary raid. Those weapons, military grade, Marcus confirmed. Someone's supplying them. But who? And why? Lyrian asked, her hand still resting on Marcus's arm. "That's what we need to find out," Marcus said, his gaze meeting hers. Something unspoken passed between them, a connection that transcended species, forged in the crucible of shared danger. Later, as the complex's medical team tended to the wounded, Marcus found himself alone with Lyrian in a quiet corner of the command center. The adrenaline of battle had faded, leaving behind a different kind of tension. "You could have been killed today," she said softly, her copper eyes searching his. "Occupational hazard," he replied with a half-smile. "Besides, I couldn't let anything happen to this place. Not when I just got here." "Is that the only reason?" Her question hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning. Marcus stepped closer, close enough to catch her subtle scent, something like desert flowers after rain. "No," he admitted. "Not the only reason." Her hand rose to his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart through his combat suit. "Your species fascinates me, Marcus. You're so passionate, so willing to risk everything. That's just who we are," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "We live fully. We feel deeply." "Show me," she murmured, her lips parting slightly. The kiss was tentative at first, a crossing of boundaries, both physical and metaphorical. Her lips were softer than he'd imagined, yielding yet responsive. As the kiss deepened, Marcus felt a surge of connection that transcended the physical, a meeting of minds as much as bodies. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Lyrian's patterns were glowing with a soft, pulsing light. "That's New, Marcus commented, tracing one of the luminescent lines on her cheek. She laughed softly, a musical sound. It's how my people express intense emotion. Before Marcus could respond, the command center door slid open and Vess entered, his expression urgent. The prisoner is talking, he announced. And you both need to hear this. Chapter 4, Revelations. An ancient threat, the captured raider sat bound in the complex's security chamber, his forearms secured behind his back. His mottled green skin glistened with sweat under the harsh lights, and his yellow eyes darted nervously between Marcus, Lyrian, and Commander Voss. Speak, Voss commanded, looming over the prisoner. Who supplied you with those weapons? The raider's mandibles clicked anxiously. If I tell you, they'll kill me. If you don't tell us, Marcus said calmly, stepping forward, you'll have bigger problems than death. He didn't elaborate on the threat, finding that imagination often worked better than specifics. The raider studied Marcus, clearly unnerved by the human's alien appearance. The weapons came from High Counselor Thane, he finally admitted. He's been arming raider bands for months now. Lyrian gasped. That's impossible. Counselor Thane is one of our most respected leaders. He wants the human alliance to fail. The raider continued. Says your kind will bring nothing but destruction to our world. He fixed his gaze on Marcus. But that's not the worst of it. What could be worse than treason? Voss growled. The excavation, the raider whispered, his voice dropping so low they had to lean in to hear. Your settlement construction. It's disturbing something beneath the sands. Something ancient. Something hungry. A chill ran down Marcus's spine despite the desert heat. What are you talking about? The Devourers, the raider said. Genuine fear, evident in his voice. Ancient predators that slumber deep beneath the surface for centuries. The vibrations from your machines are awakening them. Thane knows this. He's using it. He thinks if enough colonists die, the humans will leave. Voss and Lyrian exchanged alarmed glances. The Devourers are just old legends, Voss said, but uncertainty tinged his voice. Stories to frighten children. Then why have 3 of our scouting parties disappeared in the past month? The raider challenged. Why are there tremors where there have never been tremors before? Marcus's tactical mind was already racing. If this is true, we need to warn the settlement, and we need proof of Thane's involvement. I'll contact the Supreme Assembly immediately, Lyrian said, her copper eyes clouded with concern. But they won't act against Thane without evidence. Then we'll get evidence, Marcus replied firmly. And we'll need to investigate these Devourers. After securing the prisoner, Marcus, Lyrian, and Voss retreated to Voss's private quarters to strategize. The room was sparsely decorated but comfortable, with strange bioluminescent plants providing soft illumination. If Thane is truly behind this, he'll have records somewhere, Voss said, pacing the room. Communications, supply manifests, payment trails. We need to access his private terminal, Lyrian suggested. But it's in his quarters in the Supreme Assembly chambers, heavily guarded and secured. Marcus leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Then we need a distraction and someone who can get past his security systems. I can handle the systems, Lyrian said. As cultural ambassador, I have access to most areas of the assembly chambers. And I can create a distraction, Voss offered. A security drill, perhaps. Marcus nodded. Good. We move tomorrow, but tonight. He glanced at the chronometer on the wall. We should rest. It's been a hell of a day. As Voss left to make preparations, Marcus found himself alone with Lyrian again. The tension between them, momentarily forgotten during the interrogation, returned with renewed intensity. You should have quarters prepared for you, she said, moving closer. but the guest rooms were damaged in the attack. I can sleep anywhere, Marcus assured her. Military training. Lyrian's patterns began to glow softly in the dimly lit room. There's another option. My quarters are undamaged and spacious. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. Are you sure that's appropriate? I wouldn't want to impose. Among my people, she said, her voice taking on a husky quality. Saving a life creates a bond, a debt that must be honored. Her fingers traced the outline of his jaw. I still owe you for drawing the venom from my body. Where I come from, Marcus replied, his voice low. We don't expect payment for helping others. This isn't payment, she whispered, stepping closer, until he could feel the warmth radiating from her body. This is connection. My people believe that when death is cheated, life must be celebrated. Her lips found his, and this time there was nothing tentative about their kiss. It was hungry, primal, a claiming of sorts. Marcus responded in kind, his arms encircling her waist, pulling her against him. When they finally broke apart, Lyrian's entire body seemed to be glowing, the patterns on her skin pulsing with a hypnotic rhythm. Your quarters sound perfect, Marcus murmured against her neck. Her quarters were indeed spacious, dominated by a large sleeping platform covered in what looked like silken cushions. Strange, sweet-scented flowers bloomed in recessed alcoves, their perfume filling the air. Our customs may be different from yours, Lyrian said as she led him inside, the door sealing behind them with a soft hiss. But some desires transcend species. What followed was a discovery of differences and similarities, of alien anatomy and universal pleasure. Their coupling was both strange and familiar, a dance of exploration and instinct that left them both breathless and entwined in the silken sheets. Afterward, as they lay together in the soft glow of Lyrian's bioluminescent patterns, Marcus traced the lines on her shoulder with gentle fingers. That was educational, he said with a smile. She laughed, a sound like music. Is that how humans describe such experiences? Educational? Sometimes, he admitted, when we're trying to be polite about how mind-blowing it was. Her expression grew serious. There's something I should tell you. The venom from the toxin serpent, it changes those who survive. It creates a connection. Marcus propped himself up on one elbow. What kind of connection? A psychic bond of sorts. It's rare most victims die, but those who survive often report sensing the emotions, sometimes even thoughts of the person who saved them. She placed a hand over his heart. I've been feeling your emotions since you drew the poison from me. Your courage, your determination, your desire. Marcus absorbed this information, surprised to find he wasn't alarmed by it. Is that why you? No, she said firmly. The bond doesn't create feelings. It only allows them to be shared. What I feel for you is real, Marcus. As real as the danger we face tomorrow. As if to punctuate her words, a faint tremor shook the room, causing the hanging lights to sway gently. The Devours? Marcus asked quietly. Lyrian nodded, her copper eyes reflecting the soft light. If the legends are true, we may have awakened something far more dangerous than political conspiracy. Marcus pulled her closer, taking comfort in her warmth. Then we'd better get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Chapter 5, Infiltration. And Discovery Dawn broke over Kepler 442b with an explosion of crimson and gold that painted the desert in fire. Marcus stood at the viewport in Lyrian's quarters, watching the twin suns climb above the horizon while she prepared for their mission. Beautiful, he murmured, more to himself than to her. The double sunrise? Lyrian asked, joining him at the viewport. She wore formal diplomatic attire, now a flowing robe of deep indigo that complemented her violet skin while concealing various tech devices they might need. That too, Marcus replied with a smile. His eyes lingering on her dot, the intimacy they'd shared during the night, had changed something between them, deepening their connection in ways that transcended the physical. She returned his smile, the patterns on her skin pulsing softly. Last night was unexpected. Regrets? He asked, suddenly concerned. None, she assured him, reaching up to trace the line of his jaw. Among my people, such connections are rare and precious. We do not give ourselves lightly. Marcus caught her hand and pressed a kiss to her palm. Where I come from, we feel the same way. A soft chime interrupted the moment, Voss, signaling that it was time to move. Their plan was simple but dangerous. Infiltrate the Supreme Assembly chambers, access Thane's private terminal, and find evidence of his treachery while investigating his connection to the Devourers. Ready? Marcus asked, checking his concealed sidearm. Lyrian nodded, her expression turning serious. Remember, in the assembly chambers, follow my lead. Zephyrian politics can be lethal. Noted, Marcus replied. Though politics are pretty cutthroat on Earth, too. The journey to the Supreme Assembly chambers took them through the heart of the Zephyrian settlement, a sprawling complex of gleaming spires and translucent walkways that hummed with activity. Marcus drew curious stares from passing Zephyrians, many of whom had never seen a human before. They're fascinated by you, Lyrian explained as they walked. Humans are still something of a mystery to most of my people. The feeling's mutual, Marcus admitted. Your civilization is incredible. The Supreme Assembly chambers occupied the tallest spire in the settlement, its peak disappearing into the clouds. As they approached, Marcus noticed the increased security armored warriors similar to Voss, but with more elaborate insignia. Elite guards, Lyrian whispered, loyal to the assembly above all else. Inside, the building was a marvel of alien architecture. Soaring ceilings supported by columns that seemed to be made of living material, pulsing with the same bioluminescence as Lyrian's skin patterns. Water flowed in carefully designed channels along the walls, creating a pleasant ambient sound that masked their conversation. Thane's quarters are on the upper level, Lyrian said, guiding Marcus toward a gravity lift. Voss should be initiating the security drill any moment now. As if on cue, alarms began to sound throughout the building. Guards rushed past them, heading toward the lower levels where Voss was creating his distraction. Perfect timing, Marcus murmured as they stepped onto the lift. How long do we have? 10 minutes, maybe less, Lyrian replied. Thane will be in the emergency assembly session with the other leaders. The upper level was deserted when they arrived, the guards having responded to the alarm. Lyrian led Marcus down a corridor lined with ornate doors until they reached one marked with a distinctive symbol. Thane's private quarters, she explained, placing her hand on a scanner beside. The door. To Marcus's surprise, it chimed and slid open. As cultural ambassador, I have emergency access to all assembly members' quarters. Convenient, Marcus remarked as they slipped inside. The room beyond was opulent by any standard, filled with exotic plants, strange artifacts, and what appeared to be trophies from various hunts. A large desk dominated one wall, a holographic terminal hovering above it. Keep watch while I access his files, Lyrian said, moving to the terminal. Marcus positioned himself near the door, his senses on high alert. Through their newfound bond, he could feel Lyrian's tension as her fingers danced across the holographic interface. Anything? He asked after a moment. Yes, she replied, her voice tight with anger. Communications with the raiders, weapons manifests, payment records, it's all here. Thane has been systematically undermining the Alliance for months. What about the Devourers? Lyrian's fingers paused, her expression shifting to one of horror. By the ancestors, He's not just aware of them, he's been actively trying to wake them. Why would he do that? Marcus moved to her side, studying the strange symbols on the display. According to these notes, he believes he can control them using some kind of ancient technology. She pointed to schematics of a device. He thinks they can be weaponized against off-world threats. Including humans, Marcus guessed grimly. Yes, but he's wrong. The Devourers cannot be controlled. They're apex predators with rudimentary hive intelligence. If they fully awaken, she shuddered. We need to copy these files and get out of here, Marcus said, checking the time. Voss's distraction won't last much longer. Lyrian nodded, transferring the data to a small device she carried. Just as she finished, Marcus felt a tremor run through the building, stronger than the one they'd felt the night before. That's not part of Voss's distraction, he said, steadying himself against the desk. Lyrian's eyes widened. No, it's not. The tremor intensified, and a distant alarm, different from the security drill, began to wail. Lyrian's communication device chimed urgently. Lyrian, Voss's voice came through, tight with tension. We have a situation. The Devourers, they've breached the lower levels of the settlement. We're on our way, she replied, grabbing Marcus's arm. We have the evidence against Thane. As they rushed from the room, another, stronger tremor shook the building, sending decorative items crashing to the floor. Marcus caught Lyrian as she stumbled, pulling her close. Looks like our timing could have been better, he said with grim humor. Or perfect, she countered. The assembly will have to listen now. They made it to the gravity lift just as the power fluctuated, the lights dimming momentarily. Marcus felt a surge of prot.